Today we're taking a look at the Timex Waterbury automatic dive watch, and more importantly, why you should not be buying this watch. Let's take a look and see why. Let's start out by taking a quick look at some of the basics of this watch. The watch we're looking at is a 40mm stainless steel case, 48mm lug to lug, making it very comfortable on the wrist, a 20mm lug width, making it very easy to switch out your straps, has an automatic movement that's manufactured by Miyota, 100 meters of water resistance, mineral glass with a green dial featuring day and date, and it is a dive watch that comes on a leather strap. This watch sells for $349 Canadian or $279 USD. Taking a look at the finishing on this watch, the stainless steel case has an overall brushed appearance to it, with a very nice polished line that goes across the chamfered edge. This is a pretty good looking watch at its price point. The dial has to be the #1 selling feature for this watch. It's got a really nice green starburst pattern on it that plays very well with the light. However, that's kind of where the good things end. The very first thing I want to talk about when it comes to quality control isn't even with the watch itself, it's the strap. We can see 3 very clear points where the ink itself is just fading away. This isn't wear, this is how it left the manufacturing facility. This should not be like this at all. Now let's take a look at one of the first things that people spot with a dive watch, and that is the bezel alignment. Here you can see that the bezel, when we're trying to get it set right at 12, is just slightly off to the right, and when I move it over, it goes way too far. It's not going to be perfectly centered, and even though the bezel itself does have, a little bit of play with it, you can try to move it back and have it line up, sorta, but you're not going to get a perfectly aligned bezel with this watch, and you're just going to have to live with that. The quality control issues continue through to the dial. Take a look at the 10 o'clock marker. The lume stick is not centered at all, and it's way over to the left. Once I noticed it, I can't stop seeing it. And when you have this watch, these are the kind of quality control issues you're dealing with. You're going to be looking at this dial all the time, and that's all you're going to see. One of the biggest selling features of this watch has to be that it's an automatic mechanical movement at that price point. Timex uses a Miyota movement in this watch. The movement's unfinished, unregulated, but there is a Timex logo on the rotor itself. One of the downsides with this movement is that it does not have a hacking seconds hand. Now, when I pull out the crown here, you'll see that the seconds hand keeps sweeping. Usually what you want to do is be able to pull out the crown, have your seconds hand right at 0 so you can set the time perfectly, but with this watch you can't do that. Another issue with this movement happens when you're in the day-date setting position. When you're trying to set the day of the watch, you get to a point where there's a lot of friction, and when you go over it like I'm doing right now, you kind of feel like you're going to snap something inside, and a watch shouldn't have that kind of friction to it. Another thing is that you don't even really need to fully spin it over for it to change the date. It's like it almost engages fully even before then, and you can just kind of rock back and forth to change the day on it. Now, that means that something's probably engaging, and I don't want to break it. Setting the date, however, works perfectly fine. So it's only on the day setting, but the date you can change as you would expect. I completely understand the appeal of this watch and why somebody would want it. It's an automatic watch with a nice looking dial, well finished case, nice 48mm lug to lug, so it's comfortable, and it's overall decent value on the surface. But when you start looking at things like the bezel play and how the movement is on it, even how the actual leather strap came from the factory, like, these aren't wear marks. This is how it came from the factory. Like, look, there's no wear on the strap itself. This is ink that's fading away. And when you take a look at all those things, it doesn't really matter that, you know, it's an automatic movement. You're getting a watch that is just not built the way that it should be built. What you should do yourself a favor, go and find the brands that play in this area. Seiko lives and breathes in this area. Seiko 5s are a dime a dozen in this price point, and you're going to get a way better watch. Go look into brands like San Martin. Go, you know, expand your horizon a little bit. Even though Timex has the better brand recognition, San Martin is a way better watch when it comes to build quality. You're not going to get these issues, right? To have a watch leave the factory with a strap that looks like this is completely inexcusable. Do yourself a favor. Do not buy this watch. Go buy a Seiko 5 and enjoy it.